Monastery, author of such great books as Hacking into Heaven, Mushrooms in the Bible. Today what I want to talk about is actually the effect that mushrooms have on what they actually do, and I want to talk about that by describing actually how trauma can change your DNA. You may have heard this. Well, how does trauma change your DNA? It's not trauma actually, it's the fear that is associated with it. When you have an intense moment in your life that it causes a great amount of fear that stimulates the fight, flight, or freeze response, basically your body surges with all kinds of hormones going to your bloodstream, but the concoction of these hormones in your blood has the ability to actually program your DNA. Basically what it does is it programs your DNA with an instinct to have an automatic response when this stimulus occurs to you. So the thing that is very scary to you that created this initial surge of hormones in the first place, your body is actually trained to program itself to have the same response when it encounters a similar situation. It's part of survival. The problem with this is that very instinct of learning can be taken advantage of, and we can be programmed through conditioned fear. I'm going to say that again, like we literally can program our instincts through conditioned fear. It will basically program us to have this automatic response to a situation that's beyond our control. This is why a lot of things like therapy don't work as effectively as people think, why drugs only treat the symptoms. Because in honesty, to try to cure yourself of what people call mental illness, depression, and anxiety, you have to extinguish the fear. And this has been proven what psychedelic drugs can do. They have conditioned fears into mice, and then they've been able to actually remove those conditioned fears, and it shows up in their genes. So the idea here is what's going on with all these mental illnesses essentially is we have been conditioning ourselves with these fears, and these fears are working in conjunction with each other, and they prevent us from being ourselves, so to speak. It starts with a lot of simple fears and social interaction, and those start to leading to, not participating in society. Then that has its own thing. But essentially what happens is all these fears are working automatically through us, and we try to resist them or overcome them, and these responses of ourselves fighting our fears or trying to deal with them is basically what we think of as mental illness. And there's all these different types of responses to that. So there's your sex, your age, the culture you come from, whether you're male or female, or how you were raised. And a lot of that is going to determine, whether you become bipolar, depressed, anxious, and PTSD is the same thing. I mean, really that's what PTSD is. Everybody has PTSD to these. And what happens is some of this PTSD starts to collaborate and build on each other. And that is ultimately creates these really horrible responses within us. So we find that mushrooms and psychedelics in general, that's one thing they can do. They can extinguish that conditioned fear marker that is left in your genetics. And once you remove the fear, then you free up your mind, and then all of a sudden you can change your personality because you are no longer fearful. And that's in a nutshell, that's as simple as it gets, that psychedelics are able to remove fear, and with that removal of fear, you feel like, you're in a state of heaven, right? I mean, that's one of the Christian things. You see a lot of Christian people know fear and all of that, but that's essentially what mushrooms do. Mushrooms have the ability to remove these fears. And so I think this is a good approach to start thinking about psychedelics, not like you're meeting God or any of this other crap. What's happening is there's a fear that's been removed.